Well, we're behind the scenes working to bring you the best damn Broncos show around is Orange and Blue today. Cecil Lammy, Andrew Mason, and Manic Monday, Meh Monday. I mean, Sean Payton did say average to below average for those starters.
Yeah. Maybe not a Monday that was a lot of fun if they were watching the film.
Not a fun day Monday, that's for sure, but we're here to make it a little brighter today.
Or not a fun day Monday just in other areas. Well, maybe we should start with the 14 things that Sean Payton not happy about, that soundbite.
Yeah, Sean Payton all worked up, all pissed off, sound like George Lucas over there, but hey, Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit. They're gonna get things figured out, Mace. Preseason opener, it's what it is. It causes a reaction, but not an overreaction on this program. So let's break it down, buddy. What do you say?
Let's break it down. Let's talk about it. I know you talked about it at length on Saturday. I talked about it as well, but I think maybe it was a good thing that something like this happened. I think everybody, right up to the head coach, maybe getting a little bit too inflated. I'll say that. I mean, look, when you see these stories that are being pumped out, when a national media member like Charles Robinson or whoever comes in and Sean Payton is talking about, throwing words out like Super Bowl, right? I've had a few, there was the one where he said, I've had, several teams that could legitimately have Super Bowl as a realistic goal, and this is one of them. Maybe it's a good thing to have something like this to kind of say, okay, let's just kind of have a reminder that it's not there yet. Maybe the anonymous donors thing a couple of years ago isn't the worst thing to have. Let's just maybe rein in some of the braggadocio, as it were.
Real G's move in silence.
Yes.
Go out there. You're not going to be anybody's surprise anymore. You're not going to shock the world. And you got to beat more than one team with a winning record last year, which was Tampa Bay. So a lot to do.
Yeah. Look, we've said before, I'll say it again. This team was a brain fart away from missing the playoffs.
Don't say that when I'm drinking.
Sorry.
That's okay.
But if Jonathan Taylor doesn't drop the ball where he does, if he just goes one step farther before he puts the ball on the ground and the Colts get a touchdown, the Broncos probably are not a playoff team. Because the way that game was going, and Zach Allen talked about that on the podcast he did, I believe, with Chris Long a few months ago, about how the momentum of that game changed on that play. That it was just all going against the Broncos up to that point, and then just the switch flipped. And if that doesn't happen, Colts almost certainly win that game. Broncos lose the tiebreaker, Broncos lose the tiebreaker if they both finish 9-8. There you go. That's how thin a line it was. Now the roster is better, objectively better. I think that's the case. But I think it's good to have a moment like Saturday. And I would even say, and we talked about this, the back half of the practice Thursday for the defense, when the Niners did have success in the red zone, did drive to a touchdown against the ones, did drive to a field goal against the backups, the Niners offense found its form against the Broncos defense in the last 45 minutes or so of the practice. So it wasn't just, that early, punch with their twos against the ones. It was happening in the back part of the practice as well. That's why when we talked about on Thursday, I said, hey, the Broncos started off dominating on that side of the ball, but then the Niners got them back. So it wasn't just those first few moments on Saturday with the ones. some of this was happening on Thursday as well. So take all that and, okay, there are some things to work on here. But like Talanoa Hufanga said on Thursday, it's better to have these things now and later. You can learn from them. There's time to tweak things and fix things and grow from them. It's okay. If these things happen in week 1, you might be sitting there shell-shocked and becoming only the second team in the common draft era to lose a home game to a team coming in with a rookie number 1 overall quarterback starting. The only other time it happened was Pittsburgh losing to the Elway-led Broncos in '83, and Elway got benched in that game. That's how rare a situation it is for a team hosting a number 1 overall quarterback in week 1 to lose. So
it wasn't Elway like 1 of 9 in that game?
Yeah,
like that.
And Steve DeBerg came in, relieved him, and the Broncos came back to win. And then the Broncos went to Baltimore the next week, and Steve DeBerg had to come in for a relief appearance again and save the Broncos. So, point being, you don't want to add number 2 to that stat in week 1.
Yeah. I believe in football and in life, everything's a lesson.
Yeah.
What did you learn? I think we learned a lot about this team. For me, Mace, I'm going to start with RJ Harvey. I believe he's going to learn, and he's done it in practice. This is the weird thing. And on this show, on the radio, I've said, like, hey, RJ's showing an inside out, which is what he needs to do. Phil Lindsay has talked about that, like how his dad taught him, you got to run inside, and then you can break outside at the linebacker level. With Harvey in a game, now in practice, he's been inside out. Now, no live tackling, etc. But we've witnessed him multiple times go inside out and break it. And the one, I think it was first week of practice that he broke down the right sideline, that was an inside out run. It didn't start outside. And then against the 49ers, with open holes in front of him, he just chose to take it to the corner store. And that doesn't work in the NFL.
Well, sometimes you've got to know that, the quickest path is the straight line and is the line in front of you.
Yep.
But what can happen is sometimes you see, okay, there's a chance for a bigger play if I bust it outside. And that's sometimes what you're thinking. Whereas your better chance for 6 or 7 quick yards is up the middle. That's the thing. You have a better chance of 40 or 50, the breakaway, if you go bounce it outside and you make somebody miss. But the best chance of keeping the line moving and keeping the offense on schedule can be if that hole flashes open and you can go quickly through it. And we know, again, based on what we've seen in practice, we know he has that ability to be decisive, slice through the crease as it flashes, and go. That ability is there. He just simply needs to take it. And again, that crease, it's not going to be there forever. It's going to flash, and then it's gone. That's how that works. That's how this works in the NFL. It doesn't stay. Yeah, it doesn't stay for 2 or 3 seconds. It's like that. You got to take it when it's there. But that's what you have to learn to do sometimes. Okay, it's not about the breakaway. It's about, okay, what's the quickest way to get 7 yards? And then the possibility can exist for more if you make the guy miss. And we know RJ can make people miss, or he can break through a tackle. He's got that ability to get yardage after contact because he does have the power in him to go through guys. So that can still be there. But that's just something I think that he's going to learn as he adjusts to this level. Again, it's his first game at this level. He's got to figure out what doesn't work. I mean, just as a quarterback figures out that the window that you have to exploit in the NFL is like this rather than this, a running back has to figure out that the things that worked in college don't necessarily work in the NFL, and then you adapt and adjust. And those that adapt and adjust well become the successful players in this league. And that's why it's one game, one preseason, not even one game. It's like one quarter plus for him. I'm not concerned.
A quarter-ish. Not concerned either. I'm going to give him to about week 6. Certainly for pass pro, and then we'll see where that inside-out ability goes. But he's done it in practice, and I'm sure that's a big part of film study. Of among the non-14 things that Sean Payton has,
Yeah,
that's probably one of the first things he's going to highlight. That line, Ben Powers didn't have a good game, but that offensive line, for the most part, was creating holes.
Yeah. Are you concerned about Ben Powers?
Yep.
Do you think, and this is something that I'll give credit to one of the people who responded to one of the videos on my channel, on my YouTube channel. Do you think maybe he's having trouble with the wide zone concepts being introduced?
Perhaps. Yep.
Yes.
Could be an age thing. Could be just that's not his game. Like Alex Forsyth is never going to be a pass protector, but he's a road grader.
He's a mauler in that part. Absolutely.
Right. So it's like fit. It's fit for everybody. And Powers just may not fit what they're trying to do.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting notion to think about because it's not something that everybody's comfortable with. Powers is, pardon the pun, probably more of a power guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And certainly signed to fit what the Broncos were doing at a certain stage and now evolving to something different. Whereas someone like Mike McGlinchey has flourished in wide zone and has done well, especially last year with what the Broncos do. Mike McGlinchey just is the type of tackle that is going to do pretty well no matter what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Some guys are at that level that whatever you throw at them, they're going to be pretty good. And McGlinchey's one of those guys. I'd say Garrett Bowles has become one of those guys. Quinn Miners is one of those guys. Ben Powers may not be one of those guys that is scheme independent, that he may need to have one way or the other that's specific to his skill set in order to flourish. So, I mean, it's a hypothesis that is maybe worth considering here, based on, I think, what the glimpse we saw Saturday and even some of what we saw on Thursday as well in that joint practice. So I'm anxious to see how he looks this Thursday and this Saturday, the Cardinals joint practice and the Cardinals game.
Yeah, and this wide zone's great for Wattenberg. It's just Powers, and it comes back to fit. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Remember, Wattenberg drafted for wide zone principles in 2022 as well.
Yes. Yeah, that's why he's a great fit. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Let's take a Wayback Machine, as only you and I can do. When Kubiak takes over in 2015 and they shuffle the line a little bit, because I remember like Lou Vasquez, like all these guys, like it was an adjustment period. Yeah. And that's why when our friend Tyler Columbus comes in, like Tyler was made for zone blocking.
Fit it perfectly.
Yeah. So, Ryan Harris, Tyler Columbus, these guys were capable in that system because that's the system that they were best in.
Yeah. I mean, scheme fit matters for blocking particularly, and we have seen, especially with zone blocking concepts, we go back to like the Shanahan years, 20 some odd years ago, the Broncos, they would be looking at different types of offensive linemen than almost everybody else in the league. Now, as we've seen the zone concepts become more popular, now it's almost changed the type of offensive lineman that you see come in.
Yep.
So you've almost got half the league looking for one type of O-lineman, half the league looking for another type.
Shanahan used to be able to pluck.
Oh, the Broncos could pick offensive linemen in rounds 5, 6, and 7 and get who they wanted because they were basically they were swimming in a different pool than everybody else in the aisle. Yes. and then occasionally it was like, okay, they could get a freak talent like a Ryan Clady. Ryan Clady was an absolute unicorn because he was big and he had incredibly quick feet and he was incredibly agile. I'll argue that as a Bronco, with all respect to Gary Zimmerman, the Broncos had Zimmerman for the last 5 years of his career. Zimmerman was terrific here, but his best years were in Minnesota. Ryan Clady, in terms of his Bronco years, probably, in my opinion, was the best tackle this team ever had in terms of as a Bronco. And that says a lot because Zim's a Hall of Famer. But Clady's peak here was extraordinary. I mean, he should already be in the Ring of Fame, but that's my opinion.
Right, yeah. Right.
He doesn't get enough pub. It's actually shameful to me how quickly he's been forgotten by some people.
Yeah, it is a shame. That's for sure. And Gargiulo, I saw Pro Football Focus rated him quite well because our chat room's like, hey, they got someone to replace him. Eventually, yeah.
You keep doing year after year, and again, they do the late round guys, and then it wasn't a late round guy; it was a priority undrafted in Clay Webb this year. But it was Wattenberg, Forsyth, Gargiulo, and then Clay Webb is that guy this year, kind of in the same mix. You keep having that churn. You keep bringing somebody to develop and see where they go. So Gargiulo, I mean, I haven't seen the only Pro Football Focus thing I looked at. I looked to check their hang time on Jeremy Crawshaw, their average, to see if mine was close to that. They had him. I had an average hang time of 4:03. They had 4:00. So basically, it's like, okay, that was very similar. Like
people were asking during the game. Yeah. So let's open that door since you are the Crawshaw expert. Because I don't answer those questions. I'm like, leave that to Mace. So Mace, take your swig, and get ready to talk a little punter because I know a lot of people were upset.
The first punt, the one that was returned, it probably wasn't as deep as he wanted in terms of distance, but hang time was. When you get like about 4.3 on a 36-yard punt, that's actually really good. Just the general scale that you think of is a second per 10 yards. So 40 yards, 4 seconds. That's sort of what if you kind of think of it in your head, right? Just real quickly. So it's 36. He's trying to hang it to get it inside the 20. He would have loved to have gotten inside the 10, but he gets it down around the 15, 16-yard line. That's okay. Not as good as he wants, but still better than it goes in the end zone. That was a coverage failure there that led to the return. So that's less on him there as far as hang time. What I don't know specifically is if it was in the right direction, although it seemed like everyone was there. So I think directionally that was probably what they were going for. The next one, he's going for placement, but it's short and it comes down at the 20. So basically it's a touchback. Not a good punt. He gets the hang time, but it was 25, 26 yards. That's not good. So basically one punt is okay. The first punt is okay. Second punt, not happy with it all. He might as well have just kicked it in the end zone. So that's an X. And then the third punt, it's funny. The third punt gets the results you want because it's a net of 50, but it actually was the worst looking punt. It was a 3.28 hang time as I clocked it. Very lucky that thing didn't work out. You're saved by a 49. That didn't work out for the 49ers. You're saved by a 49er penalty. So that was an example of you got the result you wanted, 50-yard net, but 9 times out of 10, a 3.28 hang time on 50 yards is going to come back 25 or 30 yards in the other direction. So that's actually a bad punt there. So it's interesting that the best actual result from a punt was probably the worst punt. Probably the one that that Darren Rizzi would probably have been the most displeased with out of those 3 punts.
A lot of film study going on. Broncos Park powered by Common Spirit.
Yeah, but before we go hear from our friends over at Ramos Law, there may have been nerves involved with that performance, because as you and I can attest, what we've seen on the practice field, if he's had like 8, 9, 10 punts, usually we've seen maybe one of those 8 to 10 has been a clunker, and then the others have been pretty good to excellent. So, and another vignette about the punts. I was watching the warm-ups. So he's punting to the returners in warm-ups, and the returners were actually getting a bit frustrated because he was over-kicking them. So they were about the 50-yard line, and he was in the end zone. And normally the punter's like going to have him, wants to kind of punt them to about the 50. He's launching these missiles that are coming down back at the 40, 35, 30-yard line, and they're sailing over the punter's head. So eventually the returner's heads. So eventually the returners had to move back to account for that. So we're seeing in practice he's got all these punts that are staying in the air forever. We see it in warm-ups, and then when it mattered, the 3 that were in the game, maybe one of the punts he would have been moderately pleased with, and the other 2 he wouldn't have been pleased with. So, but of course, all that matters is what you do when the lights are on.
Yep. In that game time. All right. We've got some clips coming up. We've got some more thoughts from the game to go over. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Today's episode of Orange and Blue Today is presented by Ramos Law, the official injury law firm partner of the Denver Broncos. Ramos Law was founded by Dr. Joseph Ramos, an attorney and ER doctor, to provide exceptional care to those injured in accidents. With a unique understanding of both medicine and law, the Ramos Law team is built to fight for you every step of the way. Experience the Ramos Law difference. Contact them today at ramoslaw.com.
All right, Mace, let's get back into some game reaction, not overreaction. And we can talk about the depth. We can talk about even more concerns, wherever you'd like to go, because we definitely saw a lot. I think, one, I love Jaquan McMillan bouncing back there after giving up a play and then coming back and making a play. Chris Abrams-Drain
had great
my
camp.
God. Yeah. Wow. He's continuing on doing great things. I felt Riley Moss on the touchdown run. Moss filled the hole that Hufanga had already filled, but Benito didn't keep contained. So if you want to say they ran at Benito again, that's because they did. Benito had a great game as a rusher, but that touchdown run to his side when he doesn't keep contained, that's still a concern.
Well, I mean, it's sort of the Nick Benito thing, right? When Nick Benito makes plays against the run, they're usually backside pursuit.
Yes.
He's excellent at backside pursuit.
Yep.
You see that speed. And so if you run it, so that's the thing. If you run in Coop's direction, Coop sets the edge so well, and then Benito has his backside pursuit. It's sometimes you get kind of the sandwich there. It's like you're either running into Coop, or you've got Benito coming from the backside, and then you've got anyone coming from up the middle. That's why it's tough to run when you run to Coop's side. Benito has gotten better at setting the edge, but he's not going to be what Coop is, right? And I think that's where you're going to always need a little more support on that flank for Benito. That's just, again, it's who he is. And simply you have to account for that, because as we see elsewhere, the gifts that Benito possesses are so splendid that you want him out there. To his credit, Benito improved himself enough against the run to where he could become an every down player. I mean, you go back 2 years ago, he was a liability to the point where he could only be pass rush specialist. Last year, he didn't have to do that. I mean, is it something that's a strength of his, as we saw Saturday? It's still not, but it's not a weak point to where it's like, oh, we can't have him on the field first or second down. That's no longer the case. But you do sometimes have to provide a little extra support there on that side. Still.
Yeah, and that's where I felt Moss made a mistake, because Hufanga, who was everywhere, by the way.
Yes.
Love the hair, love the game.
Easy to spot.
And boy, my God, is he going to make plays for this team, Mace. So it's like Moss should know Huff's got it. I've got to make sure I'm the outside defender, even though that's Benito's responsibility.
Well, the other thing is also when you not only with Huff, but Brandon Jones can move into the box so well also. So when you have two safeties that are so aware and so good at diagnosing those plays as they develop and they rarely get caught out of position, Riley, I think, will learn to trust them and kind of get more into do my job headspace. And I think he'll be okay with that. The other thing is once you get your inside linebackers back, your regulars in Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton, that should function better. I mean, I did think Lavelle Bailey had a solid game, and Justin Sternad, again, you kind of know what he is.
I thought he had a really good game.
Yeah, what?
I thought Sternad had a really good game.
Yeah, but not against the run. That's still not his forte.
Right.
But you know what he is, and he's good depth. That's fine. That's what you ask him to be. But you still want to have Greenlaw and Singleton out there. And hopefully they'll be out there together this week.
Yeah, and hopefully this better performance against the Cardinals. I think for the overreaction, we don't do that. But for reaction, we're going to do that because you can't say it's just the preseason, it doesn't matter. And trust me, I got that text like a million times today.
What?
But you also can't say it's just the preseason, relax. Like, no. We need to talk about what.
On the radio, you mean?
Yeah, what is happening. Yeah, I don't check my phone that much to get those many texts. Yeah. But like, we need to react to what's happening in a proper manner. And it's like, we can't just say, well, it's preseason, so good or bad. I mean, if Shedeur Sanders had a terrible game, people would have talked about it. He had a good game, people are talking about it. Like, that's what we do. And in a proper way. And knowing this team, I think, Mace, for you and I will speak collectively, it's an aggregate. You got to watch joint practice. Your observations from the game include your observations from joint practice. I've gotten to see training camp, not as much as I want, but I got to see it. I'm like, it's an aggregate. I know RJ Harvey can run inside. I just didn't see it in the game against the 49ers.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small sample size, of course, because it's only a quarter and a little bit plus. And that's another thing. I mean, we talk about the performance of Troy Franklin in the game, and it's a small, it's small compared to the aggregate of training camp. We talk about, okay, Bo Nix struggles to hit Franklin and Sutton downfield, but there have been downfield plays to them in camp. So, I mean, it's not like we haven't seen it, but I say we as in you and I, but it's also a perception thing. If you haven't been, only 800 people are out there watching the practice on a daily basis. So, and the Broncos don't put the highlights out there anymore. They used to before Sean Payton. And so at least people would see like some of those clips, and now nobody sees those things. So it's understandable that the perception exists without the ability to kind of actually see those things. So I do get where people are coming from, because you can only kind of work with the reality that you have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. What were we told coming out of camp? Well, the national audience is saying Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And you and I are saying, some really good things, and then people watch the game and they didn't see good things.
I will say this. I think there are some people who have wanted me to change my prediction from 11-6, and I've been like, nope, staying right there. So when the hype train was starting to get some momentum and go down the tracks, I stayed at 11-6. And so now that there's a little bit of cold water poured on the hype train, hype fire, whatever, I'm sticking in 11-6. So that's just, it goes like this, and I'm just going to stay the same.
That's the best way to be. By the way, Mike is talking about the Sutton drop here. Also, the Sutton and the touchdown in the end zone.
Well, I was talking.
Like
No,
Bo Nix
I was talking
overthrew him.
about the play. Yeah, the in the end zone, the jump ball.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Bo was off on that throw on the left, and they was off to Franklin on the right. So we're not talking about the drop there, Mike. Mike's a real one. He's always in the chat room, so we appreciate him. But yeah, there was a couple of major viewing from the press box, and a great press box at Levi Stadium. They almost seemed flat to me. Those two throws specifically, like a different angle. I would have liked more air under the Sutton ball, of course. And the Franklin one seemed like it could have used a little bit more guidance, a little bit more air. So I don't know if you got that view in person, but that's what it was on the TV.
Yeah, looking from where I am up top, I can't really see I was not watching the television, so I couldn't really I didn't really get that feeling on the arc of it from where I was. So okay. I didn't get the same impression of those passes that you did. So I just thought I thought he just could have had more on it in general.
Ramon asked, should we be worried? Not at all.
By the way, I just clicked over to Pro Football Focus. They did not give Cortland Sutton a drop.
Okay.
The only drop that they gave the Broncos was Lucas Krull.
There you go. So, who redeemed himself with a completely blown coverage in the end zone.
Yes.
That was weird.
That's why when he said Cortland Sutton drop, and in my mind, I'm like, I don't remember a clear drop in my mind. That's why I went to go
got
check
that
it.
one.
Yeah.
I know it would have taken some extra preseason effort.
Yeah.
That's a playoff game. Sutton makes that catch.
Yeah.
Or has a better attempt, I should
say. To me, a drop is it's got to be like just clear. Like it's sort of like an error. It's normal. A drop, an error in baseball. It's like ordinary effort, and you can't pull it in. That's sort of how I define a drop, and I think that's sort of the standard that I think I usually cross check in the regular season with Sport Radar and Pro Football Focus, and I think they're usually the same. They sometimes have a little bit of variance, but that's sort of what everyone goes by. Even though there's no official drop stat in the NFL. But Lucas Krull, that was a drop. But that was, like I said, that was ordinary effort. But it does kind of go into that hazy thing that you see kind of in baseball, where does a scorekeeper call that an error or not? Yeah, that's why when the drop came up in the comment there, I was like, and it sort of kind of caught me off guard, because I was like, oh, I didn't really have a drop there, but okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll get things right and get things sharp out at practice this week, joint practice with the Cardinals. And I imagine Sean will have a thing or two to say. How mad was he? I get to observe, and then being around Sean, I'm like, he seemed like he was pissed and had just blown up, and then you guys got the after effect.
Well, I mean, sometimes when he's angry, he just kind of gets talking and keeps talking, to the point where he went about 12 minutes, which meant the locker room didn't open for a while. And by the time we got in the locker room, it was about 2/3 cleared out. So we didn't get to talk to as many players as we'd like. I mean, that's where I think as media, we got to sometimes learn as a group to be okay. Let's stop asking questions so we can get in the locker room, because, and maybe say, okay, we'll ask these questions the next day or 2 days down the line. Let's play the comment from Sean Payton where he talks about the 14 things that, ticked him off, although he used a stronger word here. Here's Sean Payton on that.
Now, there's some mistakes that are going to happen, but it's the pre-snap. It's the illegal man downfield. There's a handful of these things that those have to be cleaned up like tomorrow. So I do think it's important when we come to work tomorrow, and it's not just the players. This is the first road trip for us, and I've got 14 things written down that I'm pissed off about that have nothing to do with the game, and so that's part of the debrief too. And so the willingness of the player, employee, all of us to accept and make those corrections, I think, are important.
Wow.
The pre-snap thing also, you remember there was that practice earlier in training camp where the refs were in, and there were at one point 3 straight false starts, and then that came after there had been 3 straight pre-snap penalties, to the point where he pulled the second team offense off. So I think the thing that concerns him about that is you already had a day that was plagued by all these pre-snap penalties, and you've already seen this, and based on the game, the glitch has not been fixed because you saw more of that. So that's something that does provide a concern.
Yep.
But
Sean doesn't mind mistakes. He does not like mistake repeaters.
Yes. You can make it once and maybe make it twice, but when it starts happening a third time, it's like, okay, what's going on here? Do we have to get another guy? If I ever write a book about the NFL, about just my memoirs of covering the NFL, I've always said it's going to be called Get Another Guy.
Get another guy. It's cold business.
It's cold. It comes from something that Mike Shanahan would say if things go wrong. Oh, we'll get another guy.
Let's get another guy.
Like you go to the other guy tree out back and pluck one off like a piece of fruit. They'll get another guy.
Ramon asks, do you think he was pissed off with players laughing on the sidelines? I didn't see that. But with Sean, he's old school. He's going to have his own way.
Although remember a couple of years ago, he was talking about the sunglasses and the bucket hats, and he was wearing sunglasses early on and in warm-ups and all that. So,
right.
But the sun was pretty bright, but there were no bucket hats that I saw.
To wrap things up for me today, Mace, I think Audric Estime is the last back on the roster. He's and not, by the way, not the final roster, not the practice squad. I think if you ranked all these backs, I liked Bidet. I love Blake Watson. RJ's going to get it. JK's going to be fine. Jalil's Jalil, and Estime's at the end.
Before we go, first of all, it was not like Estime had a bad game. I thought he played well. I mean, he had that nice little move in the open field.
I will say this on the 20-yard catch and run. It doesn't happen in the regular season. Now, I hate to be judgy that way, but if I go back and I watch that play, and I've watched it multiple times, a regular defender doesn't. He put that guy on skates. That's not Estime's game. I think that's
not his game.
Game.
It's not his game, but it's a positive step forward for him because he doesn't do that at all against anybody last year. That's what I mean. When you see something that you did not see before, you look for signs of progress. Which is
what I said in the opening. I want to see something I haven't seen yet. And with Estime, we haven't seen that. Yeah. But if I'm to be judgy,
but you are being, well,
you're that play doesn't happen in the regular season. Well, so that's awesome. He did it. But
what I want to see from each of the running backs is, are you doing something that you didn't do before? And I saw Estime do something I had not seen him do before. I saw Jalil McLaughlin do something that not only had he not really done before, but that was the entire focus of his offseason, which was get stronger and break through contact.
And then the damn play gets called back.
Yes. Now, that's the thing. If you look at Jalil's stat line, if you just box score scouted the game, you'd say bad game for Jalil. If you watched the film and you saw that play, you'd say, wow, he did something he didn't do. That being said, there were a couple of plays where he had the hold of the outside and he didn't get enough. So on the one hand, there was a play that showed the work that you put in the off season manifested in a big way, even though the penalty wiped it off.
That was a great run.
Yeah. So it's like Jalil may have had the single best run of those guys, even though it came off the board. And yet there were a couple of other runs that were sweeps where he could have gotten more that I think he'd be disappointed with. But I want to play a clip from Payton talking about the running backs, the backup running back, the reserve running backs. And I want to see if you notice something as he's going through the discussion when he's asked about the backup running backs beyond RJ and J.K. Dobbins. So let's play this clip, and I want to get your reaction.
If I went through each one of them, they have some strengths. They do different things. The running style of Audric is a little bit more forward, a little heavier. Bidet is someone who gives you some versatility and protection. And I think Blake, you got a little bit of home run speed, So it's early still, and the key for us is, and I'm just talking about those three, and the key for us is to make sure that, Jaleel, all of those guys are getting enough reps where it can help us in the end.
Barely mentioning Jaleel. He kind of says his name and that's it.
That's because Jaleel's made the team. Jill is just different, man.
Or is it just that Jaleel is like, he's in that box onto himself, and it's deciding whether there's space on the roster for that box onto himself or not. That's what I think it is. Like,
Yeah.
It's deciding, okay, do we, I think, like we've said, I think those three are competing for a spot, Bidet, Estime, Watson, on the 53, with one of them also ending up on the practice squad. It is deciding on Jaleel, is the change of pace guy on the 53 or not? Like, do we have room on the roster for him or not? Like, it may depend on the whole Sean Payton thing of, is that roster spot worth me letting someone else out of the building? Because the thing that Sean Payton has, and he's talked about this many times, is the fear of letting someone go and seeing him succeed somewhere else. That's where it comes down to the value of that roster spot versus some other player going somewhere else and flourishing is, the value of the change of pace back versus someone that I don't want to let go who's like a rookie or something like that. That's what it may come down to for Jaleel McLaughlin.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll continue to watch these running backs, but this week, what are you predicting for days in pads and sprints?
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously they'll be in pads on Thursday because they'll be the joint practice.
Yeah.
But by that definition, then I'm going to guess pads Tuesday because it will have been 2 full days since the game. And I would think, wouldn't you think they would go shells before for the day before the full pads?
You would think so.
The joint. Unless they want to ramp up. I mean, I'm just going to guess pads, shells, pads. Unless they decide they want to go shells, pads. I mean, I'm going to guess, but I mean, I don't know. Like they may want to just ease up and then have 2 heavy days. But my guess would be pads, shells, pads to just kind of break up the pad days a little bit.
And then, get the work in.
Yeah.
Get the work in, guys. The talent is there. The roster is there. I'm okay if the bandwagon clears out a little bit because it got a little too the circus was too much. Remember last year, was it the first 2 weeks when like Derek Carr was like flawless, right? With the Saints, and oh my God, are the Saints are good? And then we got to stop with this whole like talking heads yelling shows that just yell and the Broncos are going to the Super Bowl. It's August, dude.
And I would actually say in this day and age where the preseason has been cut down and we really are still learning about teams 3-4 weeks into the season, I believe we will see going forward, and this will be even more the case when the preseason goes to 2 games, and that's a when, not an if. We're going to see, in the parlance of Vic Fangio, a lot more false positives early in the season. Like New Orleans. New Orleans was a false positive last year. So just as we may not want to overreact to things we see in the preseason, we probably don't want to overreact to results in the first
September
2-3 games, I'd say. And that's going to be hard because they count.
Yep.
I mean, think of like Chiefs Chargers in Brazil in week 1. That's potentially one of the most important games of the season, and yet it might have a complete outlier result.
Yep.
That may not in any way reflect what those teams become. but it's going to count. It's going to be a massive game. Frankly, I like the fact that the Broncos are opening with the Titans right away. And then the Colts game. I mean, now the Colts game is one of those sneaky, important games, but it's still not a divisional game. So it's one, because I say sneaky important because as we know last year, it actually turned into one of the most important games of the season as it turned out. When you look back on it, it may have been the most important game of the season when you reflect on it. And Taylor putting the ball on the ground might have been the most important moment of the season in terms of that. Maybe that you could say like that is right up there with the Surtain pick 6 as like moments that just were crucial turning points.
It's a fulcrum.
Yeah, fulcrum moments.
You can go one way or you can go the other.
Yeah. But you're still glad that you don't face the Chargers until week 3, even though that's still early enough to where that result may not reflect where those teams go. But then by Philadelphia, that's week 5. By Philadelphia, it starts to be okay. This should be what this team is becoming.
Better be rolling for Cincinnati too.
Yeah. Well, that Monday night.
Oh.
Better have, put it this way, the defense better have things on point. Although I heard it said somewhere, I'm not sure where, but that the D in 2015 sometimes started a little slow, and that maybe that this is something this defense is going to be. They start a little slow on that first possession or two and then drop the hammer on people. So we'll see.
I'm not the uniform guy that you are, Mace, but against the Bengals, you better wear the brown pants. Anyway, before we're out of here, folks.
Oh my gosh.
That's from Deadpool. Before we're out of here, we appreciate you. We're almost at 20,000 subscribers. So get us over the hump. Help us here on Denver Sports, 19869.
Nice.
There you go. Mace, how do folks help us out?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never
miss vid. That's right. He's Andrew Mason. You follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. I'm at C Salami saying OBT's a BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned, and would you please stay frosty?